reconstruction, and we're going to fight for that. And, I just hope they don't kick the can down the road. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of leadership on this issue. It doesn't raise taxes. It lives within our means. I haven't seen the leadership we need. We've outlined that we need to reduce spending by at least 10%. Governor Quinn just last week pulled off any reductions in spending in his latest proposal, which just is unacceptable.
Do you plan on opening up your tax returns again?
Some people have criticized that, but we allowed everyone to have as much time as they wanted. Anyone who came was able to spend as much time. No one was asked to leave. There was no one left there at the end of the period. So there was no one said, hey, I need more time. If someone said, if someone had said, wait a second, we don't have enough time, we would have considered it. But it was open to everybody for 3 hours. And I can't imagine why anyone, we give people plenty of notice they'd be available. And so I can't imagine why anyone would need. Some of the people were very good in the way they did it. I think one person was, frankly, very astute. I came in with a tax return and filled it out, identical. So no one asked for more time, so I don't see a reason.
Well, what is the problem about just not releasing them? I mean, what is the problem?
Yeah, well, you need to understand the competitive nature of my business. I have business partners. We're in a retail business. We're in a business where we sit down and we try to sell a home to people. And I don't feel it's proper that my competitor should have a copy of my tax return to sit there and show people when we're negotiating about whether or not we're going to build them a home or not. So we've given everybody. Wait a second.
What is the retail advantage, disadvantage for a competitor to your tax return, since they've already been quote made public?
Yeah, there's a big difference between a physical copy of a tax return and what we've done. I gave transparency. Anyone in the media was invited, complete transparency, to see the tax return. It's a decision we've made. And
you did it in Springfield and not Chicago. Why? Where most of the media is and most of the public is?
I think we've often criticized governors for taking, not living in Springfield, not being in the state capitol. We picked a location, this state of Illinois' capital, every media outlet.
Are you serious?
Very serious.
You're serious. When you have the 90% of the population and the media in the Chicagoland area, and you pick Springfield because that's transparent and it's the state capital.
I'm serious.
The school choice thing you're talking about, Meeks, is that only is that the Meeks plan in the city of Chicago that you're talking about?
Right. I was referring to that. I've outlined a plan that says we should have unlimited charter schools for competition and choice for parents. I've outlined a plan that says we should elevate the private school tax credit, and I've outlined a plan that said local school districts that feel that they're failing should have a chance by referendum to offer a similar system in their districts. So I think we need to go beyond. This is a case where some of the worst performing, the worst results of any school district in the state, we're trying to give those parents, those children, an opportunity to enhance their education through other alternatives. It's supported by the Chicago public school system. You know, we had to carry the water as Republicans to put a majority of the votes on in the Senate. We were willing to do that because we believe that those districts ought to have the best education possible. Hopefully, we'll be able to get enough votes in the House to put it on the governor's desk and get that job done.
So you would want a plan that any district in the state could say, if the could say, where we have school choice now, so the parents can take the money that would have gone to the public schools and go to a private school.
A fraction of the money. A fraction of the money. If you look at it, it's not as much money as what they're spending in total. It actually saves the district money, and so it makes a lot of sense.
And that can go to religious schools as well?
The tax credit can. The voucher would be able to go to the non-religious portion of the schools, yes.
Can you talk about bringing Walmart into the Pullman neighborhood? Is that a recent push?
What has happened here again, the people in charge are failing to deliver for the residents of their area. We have a serious problem in the Chicagoland area where we have something called food deserts. And people in these neighborhoods are prohibited from the same access to high quality food at an affordable price in a convenient location access. Not to mention the fact that the Chicago City Council has to continue that, is failing to deal with it, is put into provisions that would penalize a large box from constructing a facility to overcome that problem. It prohibits the construction jobs, it prohibits the permanent operating jobs, and in eliminating the food desert problems. Not to mention the fact that anyone in real estate knows that when you build an anchor like that, other construction sites come around, they resonate, more jobs. It's a win-win. The Chicago City Council is letting down the people in these neighborhoods, particularly minority neighborhoods, from what I've been able to gather. The black ministers in the Chicago area have reached out to me, and I've actually done press conferences with them. The mayor's right on this issue. I stand in support of the mayor. I want to know why Governor Quinn has been so silent on this issue. If he believes in supporting the people, he should come out like I have in support of eliminating this discrimination against large retailers for the betterment of the communities.
If elected, how would you deal with the recent movement of positions that usually serve at the pleasure of the governor to union positions?
You know, we're trying to get the data. This is another area where Governor Quinn's been secretive. We believe that there's a balance between union jobs and non-union jobs. It seems to me completely inappropriate that legislative liaisons, routine exempt positions would be unionized because you lose your ability to govern. And either the governor has fully embraced this provision or he's been asleep at the wheel, and it's the wrong direction to move forward. We'd like to get the full results so we could speak a little bit more fully about the facts, but what we've gathered from the media and from what we have been given by the administration, he's either been asleep at the wheel or has really sold out to the unions in these cases.
So you're saying legislative liaisons should serve at the pleasure of the governor?
I think they should be. They are directing public policy, and best I can see, and it's like a deputy director or a director. There are certain positions that are routine exempt by law and should serve at the pleasure of the governor, not a bargaining contract.
Piper Glen, how many homes does Brady Homes have out there? You didn't build the whole Piper Glen, did you?
No. We own we bought a street. And I think there were 30 in that. We have about a 50-acre subdivision on Mansion Road called North Point. I probably have 4 or 5 spec homes out there, and probably built.
Is that Springfield or
Chatham?
Chatham. So if you didn't want to show your tax return for business purposes, should you be advertising it in your political speeches?
You know, I did show my tax return. We made it fully disclosed. But I think it's important people know that I'm a businessman who's struggling just like most businesses I talk to in Illinois. People are tired of career politicians, and they're looking for someone who's going to work to make Illinois' economy work for all folks, not just the government.
Okay, and Piper Glen, is that just an empty street now, or are there homes built on it?
About half of them are built.
Okay, and then
I'll give you a tour.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about it. Sure. By the way, you criticized the legislature, I guess, the $10 billion pension bond right after Governor Quinn and his running mate took office. As you said, doubled the amount of state debt. I assume that was the 10, because people like Larry Bomke and Senator Diller voted for that. So was that the wrong thing to do?
Yes, I voted against it. Mm-hmm. Not only because of the way in which they restructured it and the arbitrage problem, but they turned around and for the first time borrowed against operations in state government. If we all recall, they borrowed $10 billion, put $8 billion into the pensions, and then turned around and spent $2 billion in operations, which is not the direction you can take government. They've done the same thing in the pension funds. So it's absolutely wrong, and I made my opinion clear when I stood up against it.
What do you think about a 6-month budget?
I think it's ridiculous. The governor has been in office for 8 years. He had last year. He owes it to the people to provide a one-year budget, as the Constitution calls for it, that is balanced, that lives within our means. We need someone who's willing to make the tough choices to do that. And I think it's ridiculous that the governor doesn't have the gumption to make the tough choices that the private sector's had to make in families and businesses. Do have to get back to Capitol. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I gotta get back to Capitol.
Your thoughts on Deb Mell getting engaged, announcing her engagement?